Andrew Sokol, and today we're at the world-famous San Diego Zoo. And if you'll join us, we're going to have some fun with some people, so come on.
All right, this is really simple. I'm going to say 2 words, and I'd just like you to say the first thing that comes to mind. Ready?
Happy. Sad.
Happy. Cruised. Salesman.
Crap.
Salesman.
Annoying.
Salesman. Salesman.
Sleazy.
Salesman.
Pushy.
All right.
Hi, this is Andrew Sokol, International Business Consultant and Branding Strategist.
And I'm sales trainer Ike Krieger, developer of the Your Open is Your Closed sales system.
Ike and I are dedicated to making advanced sales and marketing strategies available to small and mid-sized businesses.
These are techniques formerly available only to very large companies with very large budgets.
This video is one way you can have access to the business secrets of the world's most successful companies.
So relax, enjoy, and learn from this week's 5 for 5 video tip.
Ike, this week's 5 for 5 question comes from one of our subscribers named Brian. Brian asks the following: I don't like to think of myself as a salesman. What should I do? That's a great question. What should he do?
Well, first of all, Brian, what I think we need to do is define what we mean by the word salesman. But before we do that, let's do a little exercise.
Okay.
I'd like you and the rest of our viewers to think of the first word that comes to mind when I say the word salesman. Now, I'm sure some words came to mind, and I can pretty much bet that those words were not flattering.
Yeah, in fact, I just did it again. Every time I do this exercise, it's not really a word, it's an image that comes to mind. And it's, for some reason, always a man. And I see plaid coats, white shoes, used cars, a dark room where I'm being pressured to sign a contract. Not a very flattering image.
It's not very flattering, and most of us, when we go out to sell, are working so hard to not come off like a pushy salesman that it diminishes our sales effectiveness.
So what do we do about that?
Well, we need to think of salesman in a whole different light. This definition might help. A salesman is someone who solves other people's problems and gets compensated for it.
That's great. I love that. And it might be helpful if you define problem so people understand in this context what that means.
Well, problem, there's a problem with the word problem because most people think of it as something negative. But here's the definition, and that is a problem is something that exists when there's a difference between what you have and what you want. And using that definition, a problem can actually be something positive or good.
Okay, there's a new concept. Give me an example of a good problem.
Here's a good problem. My yacht is too small.
That would be a good problem.
So in that case, who would the problem solver be?
A yacht salesman.
There you go. So he's helping somebody move from what they have to what they want, and that's his job, and he gets compensated for it.
Now, one of the things that I think makes people feel uncomfortable about this idea of being a salesman is the concept of closing a sale. Again, that idea of being in a dark room and pressuring someone to sign a contract. So, can you address that?
Well, let's come up with a definition for closing that might not be so dark room oriented.
Okay.
And that is, closing is our ability to create an environment in which our prospect comes to the conclusion on their own that our product, our service, us personally, will do what for them?
Solve their problem.
That's exactly right. But the challenge that most of us who are in sales have is when we go out to market our product, our service, our ideas, or ourselves, whose problem are we usually trying to solve?
Usually our own. We're thinking about the rent or the bills that are stacked up on our desk.
Very much so. And this is something that you really want to avoid in order to be effective as a salesman.
So it's the concept of helpfulness rather than pressure and trying to solve my own problem. It's helping people solve their problems.
Yes, it is. And that's really the way this context in which we're looking at a salesman really shines. It's much easier to wake up in the morning and say, whose problem can I solve? You know, bring it on, rather than sitting there at the edge of the bed going, oh God, I got to go out and sell something to somebody again today.
Yeah, a much more positive way to
Yeah,
approach
it's
it.
a much more positive. Kinder and gentler.
So how can people practice this? What's the action step for Brian and everybody watching this week?
The action step for this week is, again, 2 questions that you can ask yourself, and here they are. What problem am I trying to solve? And whose problem am I trying to solve?
That's perfect. And I find it very helpful to ask myself those 2 questions just before I go into an appointment. Take a moment in the car, ask myself those questions, and then go in with the attitude of trying to be helpful rather than solve my own problem.
And if indeed a salesperson is someone, or a salesman is someone who solves other people's problems and gets compensated for it, if indeed that is what takes place, what happens to your problem?
They go away. I end up solving them. That's the beauty of it.
They do.
So, Brian, we hope that was helpful for you. We'll be back with more 5 for 5 tips, techniques, and strategies to grow your business. My name's Andrew Sokol.
And I'm Mike Krieger.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week.